Oh, yeah. Oh, I love Fountain Valley.
Well,
Great place. Yeah.
good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. Virtual audience, thank you for coming. We're just admiring the people who drove all the way over here from Orange County to see T-Jeff. Right. So it's really a pleasure to have one of my favorite authors and people back at the store. We've been together since what I called the Snake Book.
Oh, yeah.
You have to use the microphone.
Yeah, Where Serpents Lie.
And when was that? Lord, it was like 1990 something.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Long time ago.
Long time ago.
Yeah.
Anyway.
My darkest, scariest book. That's when we were introduced.
It's true, and I've stuck
it
with
is.
you. Yeah. So
Still haven't
we have
recovered,
been
huh?
through various publishers, various series, all these good things together. Most people who know me know that Silent Joe is my favorite of all of T. Jeff's books. It won an Edgar for Best Novel. He's a 3-time Edgar Award winner for 2 novels, California Girl and Silent Joe, and then I never can remember the short story.
Oh, yeah. The short story was I can't remember the name
You
of it.
can't
either.
remember it
Yeah.
either.
I've
Okay.
written so many of them. Yeah.
Well, anyway, so it's been a long and prosperous career. And now he's introducing yet a new character who's, let me see if I can say it right, a Hashime Indian.
You did it. You
I did it right, from
Yeah.
Orange County. Actually, they're a tribe kind of scattered around San Juan Capistrano. And appropriately, since we are on the eve of Veterans Day, and it's not actually Veterans Day, as I earlier said today. However, today is the 250th birthday of the Marine Corps. My son-in-law, who is a Marine, gently corrected me about Veterans Day is tomorrow, Mom, but it is the Marine birthday today. Anyway, he's a former Marine, served in Afghanistan, and suffers greatly from PTSD, and he's now a detective in the Orange County Sheriff's Department. So, TJ, you actually didn't serve in the military yourself, but you are drawn to characters who did. Why is that?
Well, I'll tell you exactly why. It's because I don't know, I guess the 1990s, kind of more or less, are, the beginnings of our kind of endless wars in the Middle East, 2000 certainly. I just became aware of how many of my neighbors were over there fighting. I moved to Fallbrook that year. I moved from Orange County to Fallbrook, which is right next door to Pendleton. So a lot of my neighbors in our country, and the bravery that they show, and the selflessness. So I'm impressed by and really thankful for our military, for the things that they do, and I think that some of our wars have been kind of pointless and destructive, and I wished our guys weren't there, but nonetheless, I admire them immensely. So that's why I've written about them a lot, and also, I think just statistically, if you're an American male right now in your 30s, 40s, and 50s, 60s, go back to Vietnam. You've served. I mean, we have a lot of soldiers out there, and ex-soldiers, and I think that they're worth more than worth writing about. So they have my admiration and my thanks, and I think that what they've been through is generally kind of heroic.
Well, I certainly agree with that. But in order to write about them, you must have talked to some of them. I mean, if you haven't personally experienced PTSD, you probably can't just imagine it.
No, it helps to talk to them and go. You want your eyes open. Go to the Veterans Administration Hospital here, or in San Diego, anywhere. Go to the VA and see them. And whoa, talk about some tough cases. Again, I just think they're really very very admirable and worthy of writing about. When I was of soldier age, I was 18. Say I registered for the draft. So it was 1971, I think. Is that right? Yeah. And Vietnam was winding down. We were still engaged heavily over there. It wasn't over, but we weren't drafting anymore. And regardless, my draft number as an 18-year-old was 351. So there was no way, I was going, and I was relieved. I didn't want to go. I was a coward. I didn't want to go over there. I would have, obviously, if I'd have been drafted, but I didn't. And so I've always kind of thought in the back of my mind that all the soldiers who went over there, my friends and people I knew who went to Vietnam, and subsequently, forward into history, kind of did it for me. I felt like they kind of took my place, and I owe them something for that. So
here we are. So
Yeah.
who is your new character in this book?
My what?
Who is the new character that you're introducing us to in this book?
His name is Lew Gale, and he is he's a former soldier, Afghanistan, Sangin Valley. I write about Sangin Valley all the time because that's my battle. Anyway, he's there, and he's 40. He's divorced now. The war is behind him. He was a sniper in Sangin Valley, and wounded badly, PTSD, struggling to hold his life together. He's doing a pretty good job. He's mostly sober, and he's advanced to the point of being a homicide detective with the Orange County Sheriff's Department. So he's all of that, and he is half a Hashime Indian. And the reason he's half a Hashime is because when I was hatching this book, Wild Instinct is what it's called. There it is. I wanted to write about in interior Orange County just a little bit. I wanted to write about what kind of wild area behind Laguna Beach, the mountains, the Santa Ana Mountains, the Cleveland National Forest. You guys know all that. So I wanted to set the story there because I wanted to have Laguna in the story, and I wanted to have some nature and some danger in the story from nature. I'll tell you about that in just a second. But anyways, Lew Gale's half a Hashime Indian, and the Hashime are that's ACJCHEME, a Hashime or a Hashiman. They're commonly known as Juaneños, which they resent that title because it links them to the mission, San Juan Capistrano, which they have mixed feelings about. But anyway, they're not Juaneños. If you talk to them, they're a Hashime, and Lew is half that, and his mom's full that. And so I wanted to get into. I wanted to write about the coastal Indians of Orange County because they're not much documented. You don't hear much about them, So I did that, and then I got to tell you the thing. When I sat down to write this book, I wanted to go backwards. I wanted to go back to what I sort of started with. I wanted to write a good old-fashioned whodunit, and that's what this is. It's a mystery. It's who did it. It's crime scene. It's police work. It's a procedural. It's a murder mystery. It's a whodunit is all it is. And it has, I think, more in common with Laguna Heat, my first book 40 years ago, than it has to do with my last book, which is about big wave surfing. So anyway, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to write a mystery, a good genre mystery, whodunit, and I wanted to set it in that area of Orange County, which still has a little bit of wild to it, and I wanted to write about. I didn't really know how to go about it, but I thought that what I really wanted to see happen was I wanted to see a big, powerful Orange County land developer, celebrity millionaire, circa 1970s with the Irvine Company. I wanted to see a celebrity builder. We know his name. Anyway. Who decides to build a utopia just east of Laguna Beach in the mountains there that we're talking about, and is found on the job site where they're getting ready to break ground on this fantastic utopia that he's going to build, the ultimate master planned community. He's found there one night dead, being chewed upon and fed upon by a mountain lion. So that's how the story opens. And the reason I got the mountain lion in there was because one day I was thinking about this book and how I was going to do it and the things I just told you about. And I was checking my, going to my YouTube, stuff every morning, just I do for entertainment, and YouTube knows me well enough so that they stack up the stuff that I always like, So I check it in the morning, and so what do I get? This is what I get. I get big giant waves because I love surfing, and I love giant wave surfing, and that stuff that is on YouTube is just makes me just tremble. It's so scary, big giant mean animals, lions, tigers, leopards, all that African stuff, love it. Sharks, I get sharks, I get, in North America, I get bears and mountain lions and stuff. And here I am, one morning, I'm just kind of cruising along, thinking of my book and not quite awake enough to even think about it more. And here's the feed, here's the latest feed on YouTube, which is a video, a really good video of a full-grown male mountain lion walking south on Pacific Coast Highway in Laguna Beach the night before. Early morning before, and he's walking down Pacific Coast Highway. He's looking in shop windows. He's checking out the boutique. He's checking out the surf store. He's checking out the hair salon. And I thought, whoa, how did that mountain lion get from the mountains, Casper's Park? You know about Casper's. Into Laguna, and very easily is how he did it. And he was spotted not only there, but in Newport Beach, Irvine. He was cruising the whole coast. He was living it up, And I thought, okay, that's got to be the opening scene of this book, and I'm going to figure all the murder mystery stuff out later. I'm just going to open with his mountain lion. So that's what I did. And so he was the inspiration for that book. And you can find him if you want to. If you Google Orange County mountain lions, Newport. They nicknamed him Newport because he was in Newport too. You'll find him. You'll see the video, and it'll just blow your mind. It blew my mind anyway. I loved it.
I love the idea of him strolling the boutiques. I think that's so great, right? Were there any restaurants or anything, or was he just shopping?
He was window shopping, as I noticed.
Okay, not even looking for like a convenient trash can or something.
Yeah.
I love that.
Me too.
Well, indeed. And then the awful part is that our guy, the Hashime former sniper, is sent out to kill the mountain lion because the mountain lion may have acquired a taste for human flesh. So I read the first part of the book, very upset. I won't tell you what happened. Well, I've already written it up, so you already know what happened next. But for a while there, I was really pissed at Tisha. I thought, we're going to lose this mountain lion, and I'm going to hate it. But it turns out that the mountain lion had dinner on the guy, but didn't actually kill him. So that part was good. Right. Talk to me about the mission, because San Juan Capistrano is so sort of romantic. I've been there, at least I think I have years ago. But, is that kind of a focal point of Orange County?
Yeah, it definitely is. Mission San Juan Capistrano, one of the 20-something, missions built up through Baja and into California up to the north of the state. It's known as the jewel of the missions because it was beautiful and has been restored to some beauty. My personal attachment to the mission came in fourth grade, of course. Public school teacher, student Jeff. Fourth grade is when you study California history, and so we went to the field trip to Mission San Juan Capistrano because I grew up in Tustin, so I was right there, and we went and stuff, and I was really struck by how kind of classy and beautiful and old and mysterious it was, and I just really kind of liked it, and over the years I would go back, kind of check it out now and again, and learned the history of it just very generally, how it was built by the Franciscans, and
was this Father Junipero Serra?
Yeah, that was a
he
Serra
was the
mission.
guy. He was one of the guys that basically colonized California.
Father Serra, right?
Mexico.
Loved and hated in history, depending on who you are, and. One of the things that missions San Juan Capistrano that just kind of blew me away was learning it as a kid was in 1812 they finally finished the grand church, stone church, big, big stone church. And it was gorgeous and beautiful. It took it took a long, long time to build that church, and it was mostly built by the Hashime Indians, the laborers. Early on, it had just barely opened, been open for a day or two, when at 6:30 in the morning, a special early mass on a Sunday, it was a special time, and it was the time when the Hashime were preferred to be there. They were ordered to be there, because this is your church, and this mass is for you. And so they flocked in, 40 of them, and two Franciscan bell ringers, young men who were in the bell tower ringing the bell, and they were having their mass, and an enormous earthquake hit. They still don't know where it was epicentered, but they think it was part of the San Andreas Fault, but then other guys say it wasn't. Anyway, the whole giant building collapsed, and it killed every single one of them in it. 42 died in an instant. Nature was so cruel that the first part of the earthquake buckled the doors in such a way that the doors you couldn't open them. So all 42 were trapped inside, and then the ceiling caved in. These enormous, made by hand by these enormous boulders, and that was that. So anyway, it had this tragic thing, and they never rebuilt it. You can go see it right today. I got some on my website, pictures of it. Really dramatic, really dramatic. This great old, once beautiful thing that just turned into a death trap. So anyway, I just kind of put all that stuff in. I love writing about Orange County, or I love writing about wherever I am. And now I'm in San Diego County, so I write a lot about that. But I've done a ton of Orange County stuff. I'm writing another book right now that's more Orange County, and I love the history there, and I love the people there, and it was really cool to talk to the Hashime and kind of see what they're about and stuff, and get them in there, because they're the originals. They were there thousands of years before the Spanish showed up. That's their spot. They had little villages in Laguna and Newport Beach. They were originals. I love that. I think it's really cool.
That. Right, Patrick, can you hear me? There's a terrible echo from TJF's microphone. That it would be wonderful if you could come out and dial it down.
Yeah, I don't know what that's doing.
You may be holding it too close to your mouth, but I don't think so. You all can hear it, right? There's a very annoying echo, which I think we can fix. So I'll talk while we're fixing it, because mine isn't doing that. Right. I mean, I think that the whole chain of missions going up California, of course, it was part of Spain's colonizing. The word colonial is now, like I don't know, say something.
We'll see. Maybe
yes.
Me being too close. Well, it
no, that is better. Now. Yeah, it was really echoing. And yet, they are part of the history, and you can't really erase that. But what I think is sad is that nobody really was aware of the San Andreas Fault when, all this stuff was going on. And it falls in such a way that it was kind of inevitable that things would be built along it. So you can't really escape that.
3 other missions had damage in that same fault. 3 of them.
Yeah.
It nailed 3 of them, beat them up pretty good.
And they didn't know any earthquake. Now, a week ago, I'm staying on the 39th floor of a glass and steel tower in Tokyo with all glass walls. So there you are. And, Japan is so earthquake prone. And they assured me that the pioneering work that New Zealand, especially the Te Papa Museum, has done to for the technology of building so they can survive earthquakes. There's a sway thing now that they build into. I'm still not convinced that some of those towers could stay standing in a really serious earthquake, but I did think about that.
Yeah,
well, the whole Pacific Rim is subject to faults and volcanoes. And then we went out to Mount Fuji, which is currently dormant, but so was, Mount St. Helens and other things. So you just really never quite know when nature has a big surprise in store. But I hated what you just said. Does that mean you're not writing a sequel to this?
Oh no, no sequels. No, no,
No sequels? You mean you
One-
gave us this
one-
wonderful character and that's it?
One shot.
Oh,
One shot.
oh.
That's
well,
how you come up with Silent Joe.
Well, that's
is
true.
You get out of the series and you write a new character. The character in my new book, which I can't tell you anything about because it's a secret,
Okay.
is an even better character than Lew Gale in a lot of ways.
No. Well, all right, I'll take it on faith till next year. But anyway, so Lou's father, however, is not Hashime, but rather Spanish, and just walked away from his Hashime wife and children, and is remarried, like twice?
Mm-hmm.
So Lew has siblings of other, but he's Hispanic, right? He's from Mexico?
The father,
Yeah.
he's Spanish.
He's Spanish.
He's not Mexican. He's Spanish.
Okay.
So it's a real obvious setup, a Spanish, Junipero Serra, Spain, and is Lew's father. And his mother is a full-blooded Hashime. So he's Lew's half. He's half and half. And he can't really quite figure out what he wants to be or what he is. His heart's kind of with Hashime, but he doesn't want to be one of those people on the street protesting that he needs a casino. You know what I mean? He doesn't want to be an Indian per se. He doesn't want to be Spanish either. His dad's insufferable. He's a terrible man in a lot of ways. And so anyway, I just tried to set up the Spanish indigenous, formula
Right.
that resulted in our in Mexico sort of start with and up into California.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I really liked about Lew is his mom is a renowned basket weaver with traditional Hashime motifs. And so that's what he does to relax or to calm himself. He weaves baskets of his own, which
And
I
it
think
embarrasses him.
Well,
He thinks of himself as a basket case.
but I really like it. If you go down to the Herd Museum, for example, where they have some remarkable
They're beautiful.
baskets and other things. I mean, it's a terrific art to actually do that and to use the tribal, I don't know want to call them totems, but anyway, images that the Hashime are proud of. I thought it was great. So Lew is sent out with his dog. Yay! Great dog called Knight to track the mountain lion. And then they work out that the mountain lion was in fact innocent. And then the case goes from there. You do have a very clever motive for this one. Did you actually have to research that, or did you make it up? Or
Say again?
We can't talk about the ultimate motive behind the murder, but is it a real thing, or is it something you imagined?
Oh, that's an imaginary character. Yeah, for sure.
Well, not a character, but anyway. But what I really thought was intriguing is you must have visualized this utopian community that he was building, and I have to say it was really remarkable. So
It was going to be a great utopia.
It really was.
He's a visionary builder. He's not just a slap up the development kind of guy, tract homes or anything. It's all master planned and it's thought out. A lot of open space, a lot of parks, a lot of everything's solar this, solar that. There's a spring fed lake that becomes their central park, and it's this beautiful, wonderful place, and the beauty and the misfortune of the idea is, of course, that it's a really beautiful, idyllic place, that start in the low 2 millions, and that's Southern California development at its worst and best. So
also Scottsdale.
Huh?
Increasingly Scottsdale. So
right, yeah.
No,
just
increasingly
everywhere.
Scottsdale. I think we're seeing more and more of a divide between the haves and the have-nots.
Yes.
That's what's going on in our country at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I read in the Wall Street Journal, which I get for the arts coverage, but occasionally stray over into seeing what else they're talking about. They talked about the catch. Did anybody see the amazing football catch from Indiana? Well, I haven't either, but they had like a whole page on the Wall Street Journal about this kid who managed to keep 1 foot in bounds while looking as though he were in some kind of incredible ballet. Well, anyway, But they did point out that I think it was in August or September or October, whatever, only 10% of Americans bought anything of any significant other. 10% were buoying up the entire economy. Everybody else doesn't have enough money, except for the super rich who are spending super amounts of money. And so it's throwing the whole picture off. And I thought about that when I was, reading your book, that there is this, of course, Laguna's like that too, but there is this huge disparity between who can afford to live in a place. But still, it was such a gorgeous place. I was sad, that it might come to grief.
It's kind of cool too when you big picture it. This developer guy is a visionary, and he's kind of an artist in his own way, building this master plan place that's going to be really great and environmentally healthy and all that stuff, and it's going to be fabulously and affordable, and yet and yet he is actually we discovered during the course of the early part of the book that he has actually been shot in the head twice and assassinated on his own building site. So that's kind of the grim that's the whodunit part that makes the book really kind of, I think, compelling. You just want to know who would do this to this guy and why. And of course, the more Lew finds out about him, the guy led a very public life. He's a celebrity, he's a builder. And so Lew, finds out more and more and more about him. He actually used to work for this guy years ago, doing private security a few times. Took him to a couple of big, escorted him to a couple of big championship boxing matches in Las Vegas and stuff. Bennet Tarlow III is his name, and he's this guy, this blue-blooded guy. And so the more Lew finds out about him, as detectives do, he understands quickly, Lew does, that something in this assassination has to do with his business, because there are enormous amounts of money coming and going through Bennet Tarlow's hands. And there's also something very, very personal going on that somehow makes him ripe for that sort of treatment. So anyway, it's a nice setup. I think it captures the darkness and the light of sunny Laguna Beach in a nice way. Orange County, Southern Cal.
So California has a history of big money doing philanthropic things, even if the big money was bad. She says, as a graduate of Stanford University, which, the money from that came from the railroads exploiting all kinds of things, and yet ultimately has gone to a good purpose. And so it's like the Rockefeller money, acquired miserably, but then actually, done a lot of amazing things. And so I don't know if you can ever really wash money clean, but, that's kind of part of a question there. I also have to say that judging from California home prices, and I don't think $2 million is all that high in California. I mean,
I should have said 5.
Yeah, no kidding.
From the beginning condo in the ultimate Eden.
I know. If you look at Scottsdale real estate prices, they're pretty horrendous. So
I can't exaggerate fast enough.
No. A long time ago, somebody said to me he was actually writing a golf mystery, and a guy won a purse, at a tournament with an unspecified amount, and I said, why? And he said, the thing that will date your book fastest is if you put in a specific amount of money. Yeah. Because you just can't, inflation or deflation will always age your book rapidly, although I agree it's kind of hard to fudge it when you're talking.
It'll date stamp
real
quick.
Yeah, it really can. So anyway, that is Wild Instinct. It's really a wonderful book. The other thing, for those of you watching, if you've never read Jeff before, you can do this one, because there's no previous books that you need to read. And if you're looking for a straightforward detective story, police procedural and all, which are kind of hard to find at the moment, this is a terrific example. So, anybody in the audience have a question they would like to ask? Everybody looks shy. Yes?
What do I read for fun? Gosh, I keep an eye on what's left of the LA Times book review, which is to say not much, but I like reading about reviewed books, and a lot of times I'll read New York Times also, Wall Street Journal. I just like reading the reviews, and when I read something that sounds like a good book, then I'll pick it up and give it a try. You know, I like that way of shopping. I don't have I don't have any sort of systematic, reading that I do. Like I read only this or mainly that or whatever. I like the kind of books that I write, but I read a lot of fiction that has nothing to do with crime and mystery. Just kind of basic, New York Times bestsellers. I like nonfiction a lot. I like pieces, articles, books about thinkers, people. I don't know what I read last. I thought was good. It was Too Dumb to Fail by Matt Lewis, who is a real conservative pundit, political guy, real Reagan Republican, and I thought that I would be interested in his take on America now. This what he thinks of Trump, and I read some reviews and it sounded good. And he has articles in the Times that I've read and stuff. So I bought the book and I read it. And stupid me, I didn't realize that the book was published way before Trump was even elected the first time. So I didn't get any opinions about Trump really. A little tiny bit. I got a little bit from him, but I did discover a new writer, Matt Lewis, who's different than I am politically a lot. But I'm open to that, and I think that's cool. I don't want to just read all, liberal, middle of the road Democrat stuff, because that's what I am. I don't need to read that. I already get it. So I like reading the different. I like reading the outliers and stuff. So anyway, I think it's fun.
I love the idea that there have been a couple of quote Trump-written bestsellers, Melania and Eric, and anyone who knows about publishing knows that they aren't really legitimate bestsellers. They're all super PACs who put up tons of money to buy them in carloads, kind of the way it used to work
So
with.
buy all the books.
Sure. I mean, it's a completely pointless number. There used to be, I won't name the author, but there used to be an author where everyone knew that Barnes & Noble back in the older days would buy these enormous quantities of them, and the books would actually never get to Barnes & Noble. They would go straight from the publisher in railroad cars to be destroyed, but the sales would count. So those lists, oh yeah, those lists are really unreliable. I know that because I report to them and so forth. And so, I hate the fact that, that even reading can be manipulated in such a way. But that's just the way it is at the moment. AI is increasing it, the unreliability of anything you see now. You have to be really careful. On Instagram, I get a lot of dog rescue videos because I have these cute puppies and they all want money. And I don't take the time to find out if any of them are real. Are the videos real? Is the solicitation just a scam to get my credit card number? And it makes me feel sad because I would like to support them if they are real, but it would take so much time to check them out. So I support local ones like Foothills Animal Rescues, or there's a pot-bellied pig. I just love them. They're in Tucson, and that's what they rescue. And I'm about to sponsor a pig, and my husband has sponsored a pig, and for some modest sum, we get to feed the pig. And it's grown to some, and they wrote quite movingly about the situations the pigs are found in and their personalities, and some of them have been abused, and so they can't integrate with the because they're so scared, and on and on. And so it's kind of hard to figure out what we can do that's useful or good without a lot of homework anymore, I think. So, so I try very hard to work that out.
I think sometimes reading is like you just kind of stub your toe on things that you read a review or a friend remarks, says, oh, you ought to try whatever, some author I've never even heard of, and you just find these wonderful these wonderful things. It's like about a month ago. This is it's not about books. It's about a gigantic tortoise,
Oh, yeah.
gigantic sulcata tortoise. They're from Africa. They're the third biggest tortoise in the world. They top out about 200 pounds, which is nothing compared to a Galapagos island, but they're still big. Anyway, one wandered into our yard in Fallbrook. We live in a lot of groves, and there's no fences, and it's just kind of wilderness in a way. And here comes this 70-pound sulcata tortoise walking, into our yard.
Oh my God, he's like the mountain lion, right?
Just a gift from Africa, an African tortoise.
Right.
And this is a really big animal. I couldn't lift him.
So you're just shopping your yard, so to speak.
Well, yeah. He said, the neighbor said, well, you ought to see this tortoise. He's right there. He's right on your property. You come see him. So we went out, and sure enough, there he is. And they say, well, we don't want him on our property. And he was digging a big hole, and maybe you can put him in your dog kennel. Well, I have an outdoor dog kennel made out of chain link and a cement floor, and it's big. A bunch of weeds and grass and trees around and stuff, and it's all fenced. And I said, oh yeah, okay. I said to my wife Rita, I said, we're gonna get this. We're gonna put the tortoise in our dog kennel. She goes, no, you're not.
I don't think a cement floor would be good for a tortoise.
They have this big brawny guy, Keith. He was strong enough to pick up the tortoise and put it in the back of his pickup truck, drive it up the hill to our place, and then Keith, got him in, walked him into the kennel, and we plopped the tortoise down in the kennel. And Rita says, we can't keep the tortoise. They're just too destructive, and we don't know what to feed them. And she did some online research and all the problems that you have with sulcata tortoises. And I said, yeah, I know, you're right. We'll find a home for her. So you love this. We went online, and sure enough, in Ramona, California, which is an hour drive from where we are, there's a sulcata tortoise rescue mission. Yeah, and it's this old lady who's got nice lady who's got a collection of people find sulcata tortoises all the time because they buy them in pet stores when they're this big, and they're really cute, and they're really pretty, and they're really easy to take care of, and the only thing that's bad about them is they never stop growing. And they get to be 200 pounds. And so what happens is they finally take them out of their terrarium or whatever and put it in the backyard, and it gets bigger and bigger, and they're great burrowers. They just under a wall, they'll crawl under a wall and get out and walk away. That's what they do. And so they're all over Southern California. They're all over the place. And so we took them to the rescue place, and we gave them. And she was a valued one because she was a female. They're more valuable than the males. And she had some funny look to her shell because she had been chained or roped when she was little, and it had deformed her shell in a really interesting way. It had these kind of spurs sticking up and everything, really cool looking. And so Rita and I drove home. Then we really missed her. We had named her Bunny, and we just thought that she was the coolest animal. We didn't want to keep her, but we really liked her because she was really charming, and she'd come over and mooch food off you and stuff. She was great, and it's like a big dog. And anyway, we're driving home from the rescue mission, and the rescue lady calls us. She goes, "I just wanted you to know I've already found a home for her. She's gone." So they found a home for her in like 4 hours.
Love it.
What that has to do with reading, I don't know, but it just made me think of the way that things find you rather than you find them. I don't know.
Sure, it happens. Patrick, do you have an online question?
Yeah, there's a question about the fourth grade field trip to the mission, and Robin asks, please ask if he remembers making or painting a shirt for that fourth grade field trip to the mission. Boys had painted shirts, girls had painted skirts. Does this sound familiar?
Well, no.
There you go, Robin.
It does remind me of something, though separate but related. When I went to San Juan Capistrano Mission for the first time, fourth grade, I stole into the gift shop, which a lot of us kids did. Because what we wanted to buy a Saint Christopher medallion, and they made these little medallions, and I think they were on a chain, or maybe they were separate. I can't remember, but they were little medallions, and I had a I had a crush on a girl named Linda in our class in the 4th grade, and I bought the medallion and took it home, and I painted it spray paint purple because I thought she would like it. And I gave her a purple painted medallion and a pledge of my fealty, as a 4th grader. So I do remember that.
Love 4th grade, right? It was an excellent time for things like that. Is that it? The only question? Oh, okay. Well, anybody else have a question? Those of you who drove over here from Orange County? No question?
Yeah, your first book, Laguna Heat, there was no follow-up to it. Did anything else that you write about the style of the folks in Laguna Heat, Dan, or there's
Well,
anything close to it?
that.
You have to use the mic, Jeff.
Yeah, I think that style you're talking. Did I continue Laguna Heat stylistically? Kind of, is that what you're asking? Kinda, except my style really has evolved. It's really changed a lot. It's changed a lot, and so that was 30. That was 30 books ago. So anyway, my style changed a lot, and I never went back to those characters or anything. And I remember when I wrote Laguna Heat. This is interesting from a writer's point of view, especially. It took me 5 years to write that book, and I wrote 5 drafts. Every year I had a new 500-page double-spaced draft of Laguna Heat, and I would read it at the end of the year, and I'd be wildly disappointed by how bad it was. The first draft was bad Hemingway, and the second draft was bad, Philip Marlowe and Raymond Chandler, and the third draft was bad Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I was just all over the map. I wrote it 5 times, and when I sat down to write it for the 6th time, I made a deal with myself, and I said, Parker, the deal is this. This is the last time you're going to write it. 6 is enough. And don't put anything in this book that smacks of the heroes that you were trying to emulate in the first 5. Don't write bad Hemingway, and don't write bad Gabriel Garcia, and don't write bad Raymond Chandler. Write only you. Whether it's good or bad, write only you. And so I started writing it, and I worked on that first sentence for hours and hours and hours. And I finally wrote an opening sentence that was pure me, and it wasn't bad. And I tried to clone that attitude of that first sentence, the atmosphere of that first sentence, forward into the next 500 pages to complete the draft in that tone. And I literally outran myself. I thought, but by halfway through the book, the tone had changed from that, and I couldn't go back, because I was getting better. And so I had to write it out. And the next book and the next book and the next book, they've all changed. And so if you read my last couple of books, several books, they're very different in tone and atmosphere than Laguna Heat.
When you start to write, do you have a ending in sight, or do you start from the end and go back?
I'm a start at the beginning guy. I always have. I've never written an ending first. I generally don't know how the book is going to end. I know how I want it to end, and I know what has to happen for it to end, but I'm not sure how I'm going to do it. I'm not sure how I'm literally it's a crummy metaphor, but it works. By the time you come to write the ending scenes of a novel, there are so many balls in the air. You don't have enough hands to catch them ahead of time. I mean, I don't. I can't. I just cannot figure out how it's going to work until I push forward into the moment when it has to happen, and that's when you catch the balls. Yeah.
So are you more a discovery writer then, or do you outline your whole story?
I do both, but the only reason I outline them is because they make me. I really.
If he wants to get paid.
I want to get paid, right?
Right.
And
He
that's
has to
exactly
send
what
an
they
outline,
want. And I wrote the longest outline I ever wrote. I was really insulted when they first started making me write outlines, and so despite my editor, I was like really young then. It was like my 10th book or something, 5th, whatever it was. Despite my editor, I wrote a 90-page single-spaced outline and sent it to her. And like 2 days later, she called. She says, "Okay, that's fine. Write it." So I knew that she hadn't even read the damn outline, So anyway, that works. But you know what really what it's come down to now when they say to me, okay, Parker, what's your new book about? Give us an outline, a synopsis. Give us a page. Just tell us what the book is about. And so that's that I do that for sure, But it's pretty dry stuff. It's just kind of what happens, and how you're going to make that, how you're going to bring down all those balls in the air at the end is I lose sleep over it. I mean, I wake up at night and I just go, it's not going to work. Think of something else, and you do. You think of something else. You got to burn through a lot of bad ideas. I do, until I get to one that go, oh yeah, and it's often the simple one, It's the simplest one. It's, oh yeah, you were way overcomplicating this. This is how it should end. And so I had a feeling for it, but it's not real until you write it.
So I should tell you the way publishing works is that you have to have written the entire book to sell a first novel, but after that, generally you can get away with a very short sort of synopsis. Nonfiction can sell just on an idea, but fiction, not so much. In fact, probably never. Yes, sir.
I have a question. I'm a teacher, and I teach sixth grade, and you hear in the news all the time too that reading is just dying off as far as the younger generation wanting to, screen time. I know you write to a different age group, but what, legacy wise, like what would be your advice pitch if you could if we were all sixth graders and you wanted them to not read your stuff but maybe read just in general, because that's got to be a concern of publishers, of stores, of that kids just aren't reading anymore, less than they ever have. So what's that?
That's a heavy one.
Yeah.
Especially for
It is a heavy one, yeah. Do you know there are countries that have now actually banned cell phones for, trying to remember, age 15 and other things? I mean, we'll never get away with that in this country because we've let individual choice and personal freedom run completely amok. But, I mean, trying to encourage kids to put down their phones and actually read something, I don't know. It's a hard sell, isn't it?
That's a really great question. And looking back to when I was, did you say sixth grade? Yeah, looking back, sixth grade, I don't think you could have. You couldn't have talked me into reading anything in the sixth grade with the idea that you really should read it, But when that teacher, Mrs. Wheeler, in my sixth grade, right after lunch every day was a half an hour reading time, and she would read we had Johnny Tremaine.
Right. God, I had Johnny Tremaine too, and I'm so much older than you are. Oh, Lord.
So for me as a sixth grader, personally, when she would read from Johnny Tremaine or Island of the Blue Dolphins or the list goes on and on, the Steinbeck, I would just be flabbergasted. I would be speechless. I would love that half an hour more than any other half an hour. So I don't know. Maybe it's a writer's fault. Maybe they're not writing good enough stuff for sixth graders.
That was kind of my caveat to that too. Is I think we have less adults reading now too. So if we could have adults read to kids, that's how I have memories of being read to.
Me too.
I think it was part of school curricula.
Redfern Grows as a kid. If it had not been read to me, and that
Yeah. Do you know there are now silent reading? Lots of bookstores are actually inviting people to come in and put out chairs and so forth and just read together, just as a group. I mean, not that, not the same book, any book, it's just like a communal read. And we have a space upstairs that we are not using very well. And I've been thinking about making that available, to get.
I would argue too, like
Right. But when I was a kid, I loved comic books. I really loved, today they're called graphic novels, but basically they're comic books. That might be a way to engage them as well, would be to encourage them to look at graphic novels. But do you read to your class? Do you have time in your day?
Read to my kids.
Ah,
You remember? We were at, I don't remember what that was, but it was some event. Yeah. You read a chapter of The Rescue, and he edited all the swear words. He was so good at it.
uh-huh.
No, yeah. In fact, not to get, I was talking earlier, but I have to be read to. I do audiobooks. That's how I read.
Well, it's just about the story. What you're really saying is that kids should be more exposed to story. You
It
don't.
sure is nice when mom does it. Some of my
Yeah.
very earliest literary experiences literally happened sitting next to my mom, age under 5, for sure. I had no reading skills at all. I would sit next to her in suburban Tustin, California, our new little tract home, and it was a living room, and we had an orange carpet, and it was wool kind of carpet, the real rough stuff, not smooth, not shag. It was pre-shag. It was like orange flat top, and turquoise walls, blue walls, and white acoustic ceiling, popcorn ceiling, and white Naugahyde furniture, onto which I'm sitting in the middle of a white Naugahyde couch with mom right next to me, and she's reading, my favorite book, being a kid of all time, and still is, and I still have a copy of it, is called Shag, Last of the Plains Buffalo. Again, back to the animals that I like so much. It's something that I'd get on YouTube. A buffalo. A buffalo in Yellowstone spearing some hapless tourist with a camera. Love that kind of stuff. Anyway, Shag, the Shag, Last of the Plains Buffalo, and the second mom finished reading it, I would have tears in my eyes, and I would say, read it again and again and again. I'd make her read it for like a month straight. That's the only story she would read to me. And then we went on, and there were other books and too, and that just fastened the whole connection between words on a page and a story. Yeah. Thank you for
The other thing that seems to be
doing
working that a lot of bookstores are doing as having like Waldo Visit, or the little blue truck, or in other words, you take the main character or main whatever it is of the book, and they're doing a thing right at the moment. There's some final book in some big children's series coming out, which I'm blanking out on which one it is. And the other independent here is having a big party for it, and it's sort of like the kids come in costumes, it's cosplay, all that kind of thing. So if you can engage them in that, when I was young, it was the Oz books for me. I was absolutely convinced that I was going to click my heels and lined up. I was going to wind up in the Emerald City, on the yellow brick road on my way, and that went on for years. I was absolutely convinced it was a real place, and I was going to go there. So, I think that if kids can engage in a character, and a place, that would help a lot. So, but I admire you for trying, because it's really a difficult job at the moment. Well, you guys have sat in these uncomfortable chairs long enough, so thank you. You stole the good chair, but it's hard on everybody else. So thank you for your attention, virtual audience. Thank you for joining us. And if you'd like to have T. Jeff sign your book, or chat with him, or take a photo, this is your moment.